Now, I know from your previous comments that these are nice boys. You know, they mow elderly neighbours' lawns. They do tray bakes for local charities like Sick Dogs or something. But in the words of Bonnie Prince Billy, I see a darkness.
Oh.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Every day I get up and pray the jar, and he increases the number of clocks by exactly one. Everybody's coming home for lunch these days. Last night there were skinheads on my lawn. More on that later, but first we've got a song to listen to. My name's John, his name's Andy, and what tune have you got, Andy?
We are going to take another trip over to Audiotree Live. They've put out some really good live studio stuff in the past that we've dipped into, and we are going to revisit a band called Oh Brother. And yeah, Oh Brother, the Musos. So yeah, we're gonna check them out, and this is going to be a sort of like, again, intimate studio performance of a song called Absence.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, go off, give it a listen, and let me know what you think of the fellas and this track.
Helpful. Okay, it's a long song. I'm not trying to stop too much, but really nice beginning. It's atmospheric, isn't it? Yeah, I like the feedback actually. It kind of reminds you that you're dealing with a sort of living entity, um, and there's the sense of foreboding, ominous chord every now and then. It's almost like a Morricone chord. Dong. Yeah. I can't wait to see how this progresses. I suspect that they're going to lose their shit anytime soon. But yeah, really good beginning. So it sounds great. And I can't help it, but every time the sort of slight Radiohead comparisons or influences are there in the way he's singing as well. Yeah, good stuff. Radiohead. I stopped it for the applause, but there you go. Yeah, wow. That was something that whizzed by as well. 8 minutes. Really atmospheric. It was almost for sonically. I don't have a clue what he was singing. He did say something. We'll come and get it. I heard that bit, but yeah, I didn't have a clue what he was singing. But from the music, yeah, I got images of almost like a western. It was like a this is what a western song for a film for a song for a western film would sound like if Radiohead had done it, mixed in with some other people as well. It's really intense. His vocals. I mean, I don't tend to go for that sort of vocals, but there are bands that I do enjoy that because I guess they already have something in the bank with me. Pixies, Nirvana, etc. And these guys do as well. So yeah, I thought it was a hell of a performance live. It's so atmospheric. They build everything up. Love the tempo change towards the end and that noise fest. I'm always a sucker for that. But those really high guitar just seemed to just bring everything together, so it wasn't a complete sort of mess. It was a wall of sound with this thing sort of framing it. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed that. That's excellent. Um, yeah, let's go back and discuss it some more with Andy.
All right, returned from your absence, I see. So, what did you think? You know, I was gonna let that just sleep. Come on now. What did you think of this one, man?
Yeah, okay. So I'll start this off by saying I didn't take a lot of notes, and that's not because it wasn't any good. I really enjoyed it, and I just got to a point where it was just washing over me, and I was just sitting there with a stupid grin on my face, you know. So
I
anyway,
do know
so
actually.
I have thoughts on the song. Oh, it was excellent. I say that from the off. Really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, the Musos. Bless them. I am fast becoming quite a fan of this band. I think they're really interesting. They have elements of various sort of different sort of music which they blend into their own sound.
Hmm.
More of that in a second. So there's a foreboding start. Now, I know from your previous comments that these are nice boys. You know, they mow elderly neighbours' lawns. They do tray bakes for local charities like Sick Dogs or something. But in the words of Bonnie Prince Billy, I see a darkness.
Oh,
So,
do you?
so I love the start. I love the feedback. Despite the bemused look on the face of the man bun guitarist, is like, I don't think he expected it to be that much.
Yeah.
But what it did, when I said this in the reaction, it kind of reminds you that this is a sort of living entity and it's sort of writhing and spitting out raw bolts of energy. You know, there's the song as this, and in that intimate setting of this live thing, I think it's just brilliant having that, and they're working with it, and
Hmm.
so it's not a polished, perfect studio performance, which actually gives it that extra element of enjoyment, I think.
Yes, I
So
totally agree with you.
yeah. So and it is, you can have live performances that are absolute dog shit, don't get me wrong.
Mm.
But it's the imperfections that if that can add to it and make it a little bit special. I
It's
think
just so
that's what
much
it
more
was here.
real, or
Yeah.
seemingly real, right?
Without being like complete, bag of shite. But
Yeah.
yeah, so there's this slow pounding start, which is emphasized by the occasional chord, which in my mind was quite sort of um, Morricone, and it was almost, a spaghetti westerny type chord, just that one, but
Mm.
that's what it did for me in my head. And then sort of that bass as well. And it's beautifully offset at the beginning by his vocalizing. He has a great voice, and it does every now and then, not just the sound, but the way he delivers it as well. It just slips into reminding me totally of Tom York. Other times it doesn't. He's not
Mm.
sort of a wannabe, but there's certain just like 3 seconds here or 2 seconds there. That's And
Yeah.
again, apologies, but we have said this before in previous reactions, but Radiohead is one of the bands that slips into my mind. They do not sound exactly like Radiohead, but they have a similar approach to stuff, and from a different angle. And it just, so I'm not going to apologize for bringing them up every now and then. I did say
No,
the R word.
I think it's a compliment, right?
Yeah,
Like if you don't sound like them, but you sound like you put the same work into it, and you look at music through a similar lens, and you're talking about a band like Radiohead, that is an absolute compliment.
I mean, I would say one of the most inventive and influential bands ever. Just amazing band. But there you go. So it's so atmospheric. Start. It's great. And I think at this point, I'm pretty much given up trying to piece apart the music and just letting it wash over me. Mm-hmm. So I really like the bit where it broke down, and there's nothing wrong with his voice, but it is hard to discern certain words at times because of the way he sings it, which again is not an issue for me. I quite like that sometimes. He says something about take a breath. I think it was breath, and try and pretend. And the harmonies where they're doing that there again is just really Radiohead, and I really, really liked it. It was just quite a beautiful moment. And then he hits a full screech, and I had a thought that normally I kind of shy away from that sort of style of vocals, but then I started thinking of Black Francis and Cobain and people like that, and realised that actually I can forgive, stroke ignore, stroke accommodate most things that a band or artist does if they already have enough in the bank with me, and these guys do. And the aforementioned do, obviously. So I didn't mind it at all. It wasn't like it was actually this is where it's going. I'm absolutely fine with it.
I just want to say because it directly deals with that in my experience listening to it, particularly the first time I saw this live iteration of it, is it's abrasive at first. Not enough to make me turn away, but then as that part continues, I become more and more impressed by his ability to sustain and not crack, because your voice is under a lot of strain and it can crack so easily. Something can go amiss. You have to have a lot of control over the stretching of your vocal cords, and you can see he's like, and it's just sustained and not altered in any way. Now, if you don't like the sound, you don't like the sound, that's okay. But for him to be able to hold that growl is really impressive to me.
Yeah, he's a really good singer, and it was impressive. You say, and it, obviously he's doing that for because he sort of bursts into it the first time, and it goes straight back, and then he does it later more sustained, and it's also it's an emotional point, obviously, that he's conveying, which is not really knowing the lyrics, but I can definitely sort of read the music, as it were, as to what's the emotional sort of curve of the song, without knowing what the hell's going on. But so I really enjoy that. It then breaks down to a very simple drum beat, and that's just a really nice point as well. And he does say, well, come and get it, I think. And there's this lovely, quite haunting sort of slide guitar being used at that point, which is really nice, and it kind of rides over these sonic waves. And then it starts to, it never really picks up or explodes, picks up the pace or explodes in the way I expect it to, which makes that passage actually even more powerful. I was going to say torturous, but not torturous, but you know what I mean? It's quite like, well, it's quite sort of raw on the nerves, as it were. And it is powerful. So I'll call it wailing. Well, I don't mean that in a detrimental sense, but the wailing increases and the full sort of noise fest kicks in, and it is glorious. And at that point, the drums finally do kick in a bit of tempo, as they sort of heads down, go for it, boys, sort of thing, which I would love to see any band do.
I love the cinematography because for what it is probably luck, but they're on the drummer, and right when the tempo kicks up, you can see the fervent nature of his next hit, and that's when the tempo picks up, and it's like you get to witness his brain go, all right, man, we're doing this now. And like it goes
Yeah.
into that. It's like, oh man, it's a fleeting moment, but I'm like, oh, that's so
And
cool.
then it sort of pans round, as it were, and you sort of get a shot of like three of them, I think it is, and Man Bun's bent over double at this point almost. It's like he's trying to strum and tie his shoelaces at the same time, you know. And
Exactly.
it's a really nice sound, and really nice. I like that sort of imagery. It's you know, but yeah. So, but as the sort of noise crescendo increases and these waves, you know, it's all held together like a safety net around the top to stop it sort of blowing out the top by this really high guitar, which for me just caps it all and keeps it slightly controlled so it isn't a mess and it sounds really good. And that bit capping it off really
Mhm.
is a point for me. Um, so yeah, I felt that I was at like, I mean, I had some images come into my mind, and one of them was I felt like I was at like a desolate sort of shore of a lake where there was lots of dead fish floating in the water and little small animal skeletons on the beach, as it were. And like each one of these waves would just wash ashore a fresh corpse. That's what it was like to me. And I'm sure it's probably a lovely love song about, you know, somebody.
No.
But you know, that's not one of the images that popped into my head. But it also put me in mind, because I think of the course and stuff, that this could almost be a reimagined tune from some spaghetti western film, and if it had been reimagined by Radiohead and other bands as well, it had
Yeah.
that fear. That's, you know, the sound to it. It was like that, which is really cool, and I really liked it. Naturally, I haven't said it, you know, and I won't go into it, but all of the players were superb. You know, the instruments were all great, the drum and the bass, the guitars, etc. It's all in vocals were just brilliant. And as a live performance, it was really impressive. And I think one of the things this band wants to do is create an atmosphere and take you to a place. And they did that in Buckets. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I am so glad you liked it. Um, I think you had told me that you had grabbed one of the albums, a track we had done a track off of that, and that you had grabbed that album in some media. I don't know if it was digitally or whatever, but
Yeah, digital.
yeah, that's awesome that you grabbed that. I knew that you had taken a liking to these guys a bit, or were at the very least like very much interest peaked when it
Yeah.
came to these guys. So I wanted to bring another one back around again. We'll do a little member recap of the band. Your man on guitar and vocals is Tanner Merritt. Anton Dang is on the chunky, tuned down bass. Oh, that bass is so good. Johnny Dang, his brother, is on guitar with the pedal board that seems to never end. Michael Martins is the man who could somehow play hunched over with a cord draped over the neck of his guitar and do it all with a man bun. And
Yeah, but the chord of his guitar, I was thinking that's going to go wrong at some point, but it
yeah, I
doesn't,
thought
you
that was
know.
going to happen with that as well. No, that was Jordan McKinn, the guitars and
Right.
backing vocals, and Michael Martins is your guy with a cool little tight fro who can rock the shit out of the drums. Yeah, great band out of Atlanta, Georgia. We've talked a bit more about them on another one of our episodes. I'll link that in the description below for ease of access. But back when we appeared on Into the Music, you and I reviewed the tune Ascension.
Yeah.
And that featured on their second ever EP, The Death of Day, which was released in 2009. These guys got together, I want to say, in 2006. So that was very early on in their career. Then we did more recently on this channel, we sat down and we reviewed the track Burn, which is off the album that you downloaded, I believe, which is called Endless Light, and that released in 2016 and was their third full-length album that they had ever done. So you liked both of them. I remember you thinking you like remembering you liked the first one caught your attention. Burn captured it, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And which totally makes sense. In 2009 in Ascension, you could hear all of this potential and all of this the kind of stuff that would lead you to be intrigued. And by 2016 they were far more fully formed. They had polished the surface and sanded the edges a little bit, but not too much to take away from who they are. So naturally, I wanted to give you something that was in between these two phases, something to bridge the gap in their evolutionary chart, if you will.
Yeah.
So this is from 2013, the album Disillusion, and it is their second full-length album. So it's the album 3 years before their third album, which is Endless Light with Burn on it. And I think this detailed write-up by Sputnik Music, which I'm going to quote bits and pieces of, really paints a great picture not only of this album and its tracks, but the band and their sound as a whole. So, Oh Brother are at their peak when they delve into direct, emotionally wrenched cuts. The infectiousness they emanate peppers the album's first half. Parasitical seethes with strong melodies and smooth transitions built upon distorted riffs and pounding bass lines, whereas Context integrates massive levels of distortion with a pulsating groove to splendid effect. While most tracks retain perfect symbiosis of indie rock and sludge metal, colored by a dash of post-hardcore, the densely textured Path of Folly shows the act's songcraft may be equally evocative even in its mellowed out mode. Longer numbers, which expectedly propel the latter half of the disc, reveal the group's progressive tendencies, often verging into post-rock, psychedelic, and ambient territories. Oblivion is commendable with its gradual descent into madness, but it's the title track that stands out, patiently unraveling from dreamy soundscapes through menacing build-up halfway through to a merciless series of violent outbursts. The song demonstrates the quintet's uncanny knack for crafting tense dynamics, later reaffirmed by the industrialized terror of absence, which is the track that we just listened to. The article also goes on to say singer and guitarist Tanner Merritt remains the outfit's biggest asset. And that says a lot because all those guys do a shitload to create some awesome sound. His powerful, if tormented, vocals play a pivotal role in forging an emotional bond with the listener. On many occasions, he steps beyond his comfort zone, merging impassioned howls with demented screams and unsettling falsetto, which would make Mike Patton proud. In fact, Merritt's admirably versatile performance is the catalyst of the album's most arresting moments. There's a concept of duality inherent in Disillusion. The fragile is juxtaposed with the abrasive, the restrained with the bombastic, and the heavenly passages with apocalyptic walls of distortion. Oh Brother are becoming more proficient at balancing these divergent facets of their output with every new release. Their sophomore album sounds more assured and dynamic than its predecessor, making steady progress both in terms of cohesion and inventiveness. The record's allure also lies in Merritt's intense vocals and lend music to its emotional core. Overall, Dissolution certainly lives up to high expectations. They would then go on to give the album a 4.2 out of 5, which is an excellent rating on their scale. Tuned Up gave the album 4.5 out of 5, and HM Magazine also rated it as a 4.5 out of 5-star album. And its writer, Rob Houston, would say, this is one of the most original sounding records I've heard all year. So, yeah. And I think a lot of what was eloquently put in some of that write-up is kind of exactly what you were alluding to in your experience just with this song alone. So I would, if you liked dabbling in Endless Light, this is the one where they really found their stride. And then they carried that into Endless Light. The lyrics, which you only caught bits and pieces of because Tanner Merritt is very interesting in his delivery. It's something about these guys from Georgia, whether it's Athens, Atlanta, what have you. They have a very interesting way of delivering their lyrics. So there's a wickedness that's in my blood, the precognition of what a terrible mess I'll become. To my dismay, I found that a tired tongue won't resonate beyond the heresy that I impose. But I couldn't kill a radiant thing. I couldn't kill a radiant thing. I couldn't kill a radiant thing. I know I couldn't kill a radiant thing. Tear out my eyes, render me blind, blind, blind. Deliverance lies in the absence of my mind, my mind. Take a breath. Try and pretend you didn't hear a thing. By design, I am fated to rely on what I know, to define the endless line of what I don't. And does the application of your moral code alleviate the overwhelming fear of imminent death? I couldn't kill a radiant thing. I couldn't kill a radiant thing. I know I couldn't kill a radiant thing. If you want to kill a radiant thing, well, come and get it. Tear out my eyes, render me blind, blind, blind. Deliverance lies the absence of my mind. Tear out my eyes, render me blind, blind, blind. Deliverance lies the absence of my mind. So yeah, dark shit going on there lyrically. Sounds like one is almost grappling with their own sanity with these lyrics, but there is something that's really cool about the vocal delivery. It adds to the mystery of it all and the emotional, like evocative nature of it. Like the write-up said, these falsettos that are like hauntingly eerie, and then the door busts open and you get the howl and you get all of this stuff, and I just love it. It's gruff, it's rough around the edges. You might get a splinter if you rub your finger across this album, but it is so goddamn good in my estimation. And I'm glad you really liked it. You know what I mean? So maybe we'll check out some more of these guys later. But God bless Audiotree for bringing them on like 3 or 4 different times for like 5-song sets, because there's a pretty good list to pick from out there. So glad I could find one kind of in the middle of where we had started and where we had last left them. So thanks for giving a listen, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's cool. A couple of things on that. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the lyrics as you read them out, they don't sound like typical lyrics.
No.
It's more of a sort of almost blank verse sort of poetry, internalizing. But then we've all been there in that situation where you're waiting for an Amazon delivery. So yeah, I can connect with that.
Probably what it was.
Yeah, but it's the way you spoke about his vocal performance and delivery is really interesting, because I know we've talked about Stipe's delivery, but I think I come at Stipe's delivery from the place that you're coming out with their brother, whereas you heard later REM, then went back to earlier stuff, and it's like, what the hell's going on? Whereas I discovered REM as a contemporary as it was happening, and it added, like you say, to the mystique of this band, because you didn't have the internet, so you couldn't look up the inside management of every band. So you just got, and this stuff would come through on imports, so sometimes you had to wait a year before the bloody album, if it was released in this country or not, and some of them were hard to get. And so you got this thing from somewhere called Athens in Georgia, which you'd never heard of. And then you saw videos and see the B-52s from there and other bands as well. And it really has all this mystery to it. And, the gardens with all the moss things and all that, the cover of Murmur. And it was very mysterious. And they didn't really do that many interviews. And when they did, they didn't make any sense and made shit up. And so then trying to decipher why he's saying, like, what is Michael telling us here? That's how it was. And again, so I can see how you connect with his delivery in the same way, and I totally understand it, and I kind of get the same vibes myself.
Yeah,
it's interesting, but it must be something in the blood of Georgia, as you say.
That's what I'm saying, because like okay, so you got Stipe, who sounds like just at peak, just like he's got a sad, heavy load that he's carrying, and
reluctant.
Reluctant. Yeah, there's this trepidation, this sad trepidation in his voice, and you've got Andy Hall, who's from Georgia as well, from Manchester, and he's got this pained, heartbroken sound to him that he's like he's about to break. And this is this anger and this fervor and this brooding delivery, but they're all cut from the same mysterious delivery like cloth that is apparently only sewn and manufactured in the state of Georgia for whatever reason. But I love these guys. I love all 3 of their vocal deliveries. I love all 3 of their very mysterious and individualistic approach to how they deliver their songs and write their lyrics, which is a whole nother can of worms that we could get into another time. But they're all in all 3, in my estimation, 3 great singers and songwriters from the same state. So it's really, really cool. Georgia deserves some shine on this. And yeah, man, I'm so glad you liked them. Really am. Guys out there in the listening audience, let us know what you think of Oh Brother and this track. Like I said before, I'll put the link to the other reaction in the description below. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you be so inclined. We are definitely trying to grow this channel, and we can't do it without all you guys who return and all you newcomers who might feel bold enough to hit the bell icon and the like icon and the subscribe icon. So please welcome aboard. The water's fine. All that out of the way, we hope to see all y'all and maybe some more on the next episode of the Audiophiles. See you later, guys.